And I showed you the Heisman odds a week or two ago, and they had Garrett Nussmeier as the second favorite behind Manning. So Brian Kelly's very excited to have Garrett back at school.
He is no athlete, in my opinion. You can quote me on that. Like, he is a clumsy white dude, and he sucked. Like, I'm being nice now. Now all of a sudden you're talking about him being great? Oh, slow down there, Coach.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker, do you know, in those 2 years, actually makes more in his salary than the entire Miami Marlins payroll this year, which I think is at like $62 million. That's a 72.5. I'm just doing the math really quickly. So one guy's worth more than 25, but we know how bad the Miami Marlins is. But hey, I just talk hoops.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, yeah, time for the sprint. Let's go streaking here. Don't I mean streaking through the quad. I mean streaking in Major League Baseball, which is what the Boston Red Sox actually are doing right now, Tom. 9-11, 9-12 on the rotation.
You have to put some stock into them, especially with their hitters. What the Red Sox are doing, they're scoring runs early, they're scoring runs late. Doesn't matter if it's a walk-off, they're putting up runs consistently, hits consistently.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Really would love to know what Jawan Jennings is after. If I were San Francisco, I'd hate to lose him. Not that I think he's ever going to be their best receiver on this football team, but you have a lot of question marks, right? We don't know how good Ricky Pearsall is yet.
We are asking, like, if Ayuk comes back and is healthy, if McCaffrey can be healthy, all these things. So why not just take the thing that you know works and just keep it?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The boys are back in town.
Yeah.
How we doing, fellas? The Pro Football Today crew in your lives on SportsGrid. Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside, Kevin Walsh with you to celebrate this holiday weekend. Talk a little football here. The NFL season will be right around the corner, Joe.
Yeah, the calm before the storm. We had the NFL draft a couple of months ago, saw Cam Ward and Travis Hunter go. Number one and number two, the offseason moves like Aaron Rodgers to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are the storylines that'll play out over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm excited for the season again. It's football. It's just fun to talk football again, get that primer for the regular season before we open up with the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys, and away we go. But as Joe talked about, a lot happened in the offseason. A lot is happening right now. We got to get the people updated on it.
One of those key headlines is Aaron Rodgers being a Pittsburgh Steeler. 75-1 for Aaron Rodgers to win league MVP. I don't think many people are running to the window for that number, but the Steelers' new quarterback being Aaron Rodgers does not only come with questions about what this year will be, but it did not answer questions about the future of this Pittsburgh quarterback position. We went on to hear, Joe, that Aaron Rodgers is likely playing his final season in the NFL.
Yeah, he says that now until the season's over, and then Aaron Rodgers will look for some more media hype, and he'll probably drum it up in the offseason. But does Aaron Rodgers upgrade this offense? Let's not forget they had Russell Wilson last year. He got him to a playoff berth, but over the last 6 games of the regular season, including the playoff loss, he only averaged 176 passing yards per game. Can Aaron Rodgers and now DK Metcalf elevate that offense to challenge the likes of Baltimore and, more importantly, Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals? Only time will tell, guys.
Look, if you get 3,897 yards and 28 touchdown passes for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, they are going to be above 500, and more importantly, they are going to make the playoffs. The question to me is, will they go deep in the playoffs? And I think I can already answer it. I don't think that's going to be possible. But just back to your point on that talking point on Aaron Rodgers, Why can't we ever just get clarity out of the guy? Like, why can't we just get, Aaron, is this your last year? Yes, it is. Or just say, hey, man, it's a one-year deal. If I play well, man, the sky's the limit maybe for the future. Instead, it's maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So, by game number 7, you're asking the same questions all season long. I just can't wait to see it play out because one thing's going to happen either way. They're going to be good this year, or this could be a train wreck in Pittsburgh, which isn't Mike Tomlin's style.
I got to tell you, the AFC North, though, is loaded with questions.
Yes.
Baltimore, Lamar, MVP favorite. The Ravens, co-Super Bowl favorites. I must have missed something to justify that number. Cincinnati. Did they even have a first-round draft pick? They signed Chase and Higgins, though, so there's some excitement that at least they can put up those big, gaudy numbers. And then the Cleveland Browns. They kept Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And then drafted a bunch of quarterbacks, and they'll likely still start someone who's about as old as Aaron Rodgers in Joe Flacco. The North is loaded with questions, Joe.
It really is. And can Pittsburgh and those other teams, like you mentioned, Baltimore, that has the best odds in the AFC and potentially across the board with Philadelphia to challenge for a Super Bowl, can they beat the Kansas City Chiefs? That's the biggest question mark when you look big picture about the AFC North. Are these teams built to challenge the Kansas City Chiefs? On paper, yes, but they have questions to answer, specifically with Lamar Jackson, the passing attack. In a playoff environment, can Lamar Jackson win a game passing the football? They were close last year, but couldn't get it done in Orchard Park against the Buffalo Bills. He has Derrick Henry. Right now, I still think they're the second best team on paper in the AFC, guys.
I love them every regular season, and boy, do they disappoint when playoff time comes, no doubt about it, because the thing that upsets me the most is you have a great team. And look at the defense now. Jair Alexander comes over. They're going to be awesome on defense. You look at the offense, you get another veteran wide receiver, other wide receivers stepping up, becoming more mature veterans here. You still have Derrick Henry in the backfield. You treated him right. You signed him to another extension. You're keeping him happy. Lamar Jackson is fantastic. But every single time we get to the playoffs, something goes wrong. And whether it's Lamar Jackson not playing well or the coach is saying, hey, Lamar, go out there and be Dan Marino when, we were using a great ground attack all season long and dominating. The regular season, they are always champions. The postseason, always a question mark. And I say this right now, I would love to bet them. But I know for myself, as we talk, hover around that button around December, time to cash out because you know it's coming. Yeah. You do.
Yeah.
Well, then let's talk about the actual champions, the Philadelphia Eagles. Not really a quiet offseason there. They kept some superstars, lost quite a bit on the defensive side of the football, but maybe the biggest win for Philly this offseason was the tush push not being banned. It was a big talking point heading into these votes that there was a lot of momentum to rid of the play that opened the scoring in this past Super Bowl, has seen Jalen Hurts consistently find the end zone double-digit times during the regular season and with great impact during those multiple trips to the Super Bowl, Joe. The play is here to stay for at least another season.
I'm happy about it, and the tush push was not the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. They won with dominance in terms of offense and defensive line play. They pushed around Kansas City in the Super Bowl. And again, it comes down to we're talking about elite athletes, especially in terms of defensive playmakers. If you don't want Philadelphia to convert on a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 tush push, stop them on 1st and 2nd down. It's ridiculous. It's the NFL. I cannot believe that this was an argument in the offseason. They claimed it was injury prevention. That's complete garbage. It's a quarterback sneak. Either you stop it or you develop plays to neutralize it, and defenses don't have the answer right now.
Yeah, you know what I was actually hoping for? If it was banned, the Eagles would circumvent the system somehow and come up with a similar play where they have like fullbacks driving into the guards and pushing them forward. They would have probably banned that as well. But let's understand this. The Philadelphia Eagles are a good football team. That schedule is really tough. That's what the NFL does here, and their schedule is certainly one of the toughest in the NFL. But understand this, too. Last time they came off a Super Bowl appearance, what happened there? We lost the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. This time, you still have Vic Fangio, which is fantastic. But last time they went in-house, it didn't work out so good when Steichen left. Now you see Kellen Moore goes down to coach the New Orleans Saints. And now you have somebody in-house in Kevin Patullo. I want to see how that turns out right away to see some of those new wrinkles that comes in. Everybody, Kevin, is saying the right things in Philadelphia, but we saw it last time. It wasn't right when they lost their offensive coordinator.
One other thing that this NFL season will have us watching is a rookie class that didn't enter with a ton of hype depth-wise, but at the very top of this draft, there are some stars. And then there's Travis Hunter, which is a completely different level of star in my eyes. He has top 3 odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. The only comparison it feels like we can occasionally make is to Shohei Ohtani, who has thrown about, less than 10 innings. Who's thrown about less than 10 innings, and apparently that's been enough to seal another eventual MVP. I'm not telling you Travis Hunter's going to win league MVP in his rookie season. To some degree, I'm not sure Travis Hunter won't find himself in an MVP race at some point in his career, Joe. I cannot wait to watch the Jags' first-round pick play.
Dynamic dual-threat athlete will elevate the passing attack with Trevor Lawrence and obviously last year's Rookie of the Year, Brian Thomas, that had 1,000 yards. He's going to step up, explosive plays, and then on the defensive side of the ball, just a lockdown corner. He'll play maybe specific 20 or 30 plays on the defensive side of the ball, maybe early on. They'll integrate him, but I think he's got an outstanding career in Jacksonville, and they got a huge playmaker that should potentially elevate this team to a playoff berth.
Yeah, quick point on that, too. Love the wide receivers. You get the Ami Brown on one side, it can be electric. You have on the other side Brian Thomas Jr. I know you loved him last year. He was absolutely fantastic. Now Travis Hunter. Let me say this. We'll talk Jacksonville later. No excuses on that roster anymore, Kevin.
And again, the stars within the rookie class go beyond that, with Genti expected to run for 1,000 in Vegas. Cam Ward, the day one starter for Tennessee. All things we will be keeping our eyes on and talking about on our show today. But Aaron Rodgers is a Pittsburgh Steeler. We'll talk about that next right here on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Online casino expansion in the U.S. is extremely slow, a lot slower than I think we all would have thought, 5 years ago as sports betting took off. But you're going to start to see, I think, next year, a few more states kind of trickle into this. On top of Maine, you had Illinois kind of talk about it. Governor J.B. Pritzker pitched it as an idea to help cut down the budget deficit. Of course, we've got a weird tax fallout there.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last two majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland, Royal Portage. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His run in Salt Lake is over, but obviously the intimidation of a guy that's been around that long in Gundy and in this guy, if you look at their cases, they're very similar. It's been going on forever, right? And it's time for a change, I think, in Stillwater and in Salt Lake. I got to be honest with you. And believe me, if they lose again, they're going to get rid of him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
1 of 6 from beyond the arc yesterday. I think at best he's a reserve player, but again, that's at best for the next few seasons. I don't think he has a 7 to 10 year NBA career.
Most kids are like, hey, Dad, play another year in the NBA, understanding that, like, hey, we get Dad home and it's fun to watch him on TV. But this kid is actually like, Dad, please play so I can play.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The Pittsburgh Steelers finally have Aaron Rodgers in their building as their quarterback. That has not stopped questions around Pittsburgh, though. This team ultimately moved on from George Pickens It's maybe why they were aggressive in bringing in DK Metcalf, because they knew they were going to move on from Pickens. They bring in Jalen Ramsey, but that meant that Minkah Fitzpatrick was leaving. Jonnu Smith is here, by the way. And then just incredibly hanging over the heads is now TJ Watt, maybe? I don't know. If that's a whole nother bag of tricks, quite frankly, for Pittsburgh to deal with. But the conversations around this football team begin with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers is a future first ballot Hall of Famer who has not been producing at the level his teams have been looking for around 5 or so years now. Some injuries impacted that too. Maybe it's 4 years if you want to be exact. I think the most fascinating thing, Donnie, about Rodgers going to Pittsburgh is it feels like the thing most people are watching is, will Rodgers be synced up with the first ever time a Mike Tomlin-led Steeler team finishes under 500?
And it could be that way, because we're looking at Aaron Rodgers getting older in his career. You know what was underrated for Aaron Rodgers while he was with the Green Bay Packers? The mobility in the pocket. The originally sidestep some of those pass rushers here, extend the play, and he always had a great arm. You saw that with the Jets, which is quite an issue. You look at that Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, it's not great. But understand this, too. I do believe they're a better football team with Aaron Rodgers than what they were last year with any combination of Russell Wilson and Justin Fields at that point. But here's the issue that comes into play. You're right, because how committed is Aaron Rodgers? Did he really want to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? Or did he say, I'll give it a run here? Because the thought process is, guys, where he wanted to be a Minnesota Viking, he wanted to maybe be a San Francisco 49er, maybe even a New York Giant, and they all told him no. And it took a while for them to come to an agreement with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't care if they said, well, we agreed back in February just to keep it quiet at this point. That's absolute nonsense. But for me, this team is going to win more games than it loses, because that's what Mike Tomlin does. Like the Duck Hodges of the world and the Mason Rudolphs, like they've been to the playoffs with those type of players. So why can't they do it with Aaron Rodgers? But the key ingredient, Joe, I want to ask you this is, you take a look at Mike Tomlin. He always wins more games than he loses. But it says something about you really need to get your franchise started with your franchise quarterback. Let me just ask you, if Aaron Rodgers makes the playoffs and it's a quick exit, is that a success for the Steelers? Because to me, it's like, okay, Aaron, thanks for that. Now we're going to restart the entire franchise.
Absolutely. I think it's terrible. I think they made this decision a couple of years ago when they were 11.5-point underdogs with Mason Rudolph and lost the playoff game to the Buffalo Bills. The writing was on the wall then. Are they any better as a football team 2 or 3 years later now than what they were back then? The answer is no. They're stuck in neutral. They get DK Metcalf. To your point, they ship out George Pickens. It's a great move if they keep George Pickens. And I understand that George Pickens was a locker room guy. He was a problem. I get that. But the issue is the moves that they have made, just they take 1 step forward, they take 2 steps back. Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay, great additions at the cornerback position with Joey Porter Jr. If you had Minkah Fitzpatrick back there, an all-pro in terms of the safety position, they have 5 or 6 guys now on the defensive side of the ball that are aging. They're at the back end of their careers. Players like TJ Watt, Cam Hayward. And at the end of the day, when you look at Aaron Rodgers, he didn't step up in big games last year for the New York Jets. Throws 3 interceptions against Minnesota. Can't beat the New England Patriots on the road as a 7-point favorite. Loses to multiple teams throughout the regular season, including Anthony Richardson and the Indianapolis Colts as a 4.5-point home favorite. He didn't step up in critical spots. He compiled stats after they were out of playoff contention, and now I'm supposed to buy in. I'm selling it. I think this is a terrible move by the organization, and I'm selling under 6.5 wins at plus 240 on multiple books.
So for Aaron Rodgers, and to clean up what I said at the beginning about him not producing for 5 years, I knew I probably went back a little far. Rodgers' 5 most recent seasons are actually MVP, lose the last week of the season to the Lions in his last ever game as the Packers, injured game number 1, and then whatever last season was, where he somehow almost flirts with a 30-touchdown season, yet he wasn't good for any of the season or any real stretch of the season. So to take it to your question, Donnie, is making the playoffs a success for Pittsburgh, right? No, that's not a jump for joy season. For Rodgers, I think it is. If Aaron Rodgers is just in the playoffs with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think that's a job well done. What's fascinating, though, to Joe's point, let's say they win a playoff game. Is that going to be enough for Rodgers to be like, you know what? I got to win. I can end on a somewhat positive note. Pittsburgh will at least remember me fondly for this season. Or will that have his wheels ticking like, I don't know, I can keep going. Is there ever going to feel like a time for Rodgers to stop? And I think that's what makes the way the Steelers operate so frustrating, to pass, some of the blame off of Rodgers and onto Pittsburgh, right? Because I understand, crushing Rodgers these days is easy and often deserved. But the way the Steelers have been operating, Joe, it feels like for the past, that's now a half decade or so, has been wildly frustrating. And again, to bring Rodgers in, and we're going to be doing this all again next year. Oh, who's the quarterback? It's ridiculous.
It's like a sinking ship. You patch 2 holes, another 3 open. You patch those, another 3 open. If you're a Pittsburgh Steeler fan, are you excited? They made this problem when they had Mason Rudolph, and they went with 2 journeyman quarterbacks in Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and both of those quarterbacks now are in New York for the Jets and Giants, respectively. They would be in a much better situation if they stuck to Justin Fields, a younger quarterback. At least you could potentially develop him. He was a winner, 4-2 overall. Yeah. Now they're going to have to answer this question yet again, and on paper, they're not better than Buffalo, not better than Baltimore, not better than Cincinnati, and certainly not better than the Chiefs.
I do think the Steelers fans are excited for this, but that could change drastically by week 6 and 7. And again, the Steelers used to be about winning Super Bowl championships. When did it get with the Steelers where now it's like, let's just extend Mike Tomlin's streak of winning 1 more game than he loses? I don't know where they're going. I don't know what north is for them right now, but it's certainly not Aaron Rodgers for 3 years. He either gets it done this year or you have to move on. That's it.
Yeah, we'll find out what Pittsburgh wants to do. Not the only team, though, changing quarterbacks this season. Vegas is going to go with Geno Smith. Seattle, that means, needed a replacement. They're going to go with Sam Darnold. We saw some big-name wide receivers move around. Deebo Samuel, Devontae Adams. We'll talk about some of those other moving pieces leading into this NFL season with you on Pro Football Today.
There's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. 4th easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Sick and tired of seeing tennis players fall to the ground in disbelief, like they captured the Rubik's Cube here. It's take it easy. You won 6-love, 6-2, 6-3. I mean, it's not like it's dramatic. I did today, but I'm saying, I see that guys do that all the time, and women do that. It's like, relax. You won in straight sets. It was a foregone conclusion an hour ago. Stop pretending like it was a dramatic victory.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You are going to bank on Luka Doncic, who is a phenomenal talent, but his defense has been questioned, his work ethic, his time has been questioned, and his conditioning has been questioned. Name me one time in his 23-year career that you've questioned one of those 3 things about LeBron James.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody also is going to know the name Yuri Perez next year because Yuri Perez, obviously in fantasy circles, is the guy that we've been excited about for a while. Burst onto the scene a couple years ago, was electric, was fantastic. Then Tommy John, and we've been waiting for him ever since. And, all of a sudden the last couple stars starting to look like the Yuri Perez that I know I was very excited about drafting going into this season. And he has been brilliant.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Back with you here on Pro Football Today. Kevin Walsh, Donnie Rightside, and Joe Lisi. We saw some quarterback movement beyond just Aaron Rodgers, a little bit of a moving chairs between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith, if you will. And I think it's really interesting as these two guys enter into situations where there is some optimism, right? I don't think either team is entering the year where the fan base is like, we're a 2-3 win team, next year's quarterback. I would even go as far as to say, I don't think either one of those teams is maybe looking to draft quarterback next season, especially Seattle, who drafted Jalen Milroe, and they seem excited about what that could be down the road. Could you see yourself, Joe, either Vegas with Geno or Seattle with Darnold wanting to invest positively in one of those guys?
For me, it would be Vegas simply because of Pete Carroll. I believe more in Pete Carroll than Mike McDonald, even though, McDonald stepped up in some games last year. I just think that, Vegas with Pete Carroll, there's more optimism. Tom Brady, part of the owners in the organization, I just think they potentially could have a winning attitude. Do I believe Geno Smith is a great fit in Las Vegas? No, but he's a significant upgrade from what they had, right? And now you're sprinkling Ashton Genty. We know that Pete Carroll wants to run the football, more offensive balance. That's what he had, especially when Russell Wilson moved on, and he built it and made them a playoff contender with Geno Smith in Seattle, right? So now you add in Brock Bowers, you have Jacoby Myers and the free agent moves that they have done. I think they're in a better situation this year than they were last year. Does that mean they're going to challenge for an AFC West title? No, but they could potentially, if everything hits right, maybe challenge for a wild card, but at best, I think they're a 7 or an 8-win football team this year.
Yeah, I don't want to invest in either one of them. Do I feel more confident in either one? Let's just say the Sam Darnold move I thought was interesting going to Seattle, but also Seattle getting a draft pick back for Geno Smith, who I didn't want any part of, and probably Seattle didn't want to either, only to go down with Pete Carroll for the Raiders. But let's focus on what we're supposed to get here out of the Oakland Raiders. Because the process for me, and sometimes I'm unfair when I try to judge things. It's like you're either building for a championship or you should be tearing things down. Now, granted, general managers want to keep their jobs, head coaches want to keep their jobs, players want to keep their jobs, and fans just want to believe at the beginning of a season, hey, you know what, it might not end in the Super Bowl, but at least give me some fun. I just don't know what Geno Smith does, because sometimes you look at a division and go, I just want to wait it out until Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are done, then we're going to hit the gas pedal. And the Raiders, instead of saying, you don't have to be bad, but you can play your way into, AOC, a quarterback, okay, let him play it out. You get the second overall pick, the first overall pick next year. It could turn out to be, let's just say, Arch Manning. Now you got that pizzazz in your franchise where everybody's excited about building for the future. Getting Geno Smith means more victories, but it doesn't mean enough victories to move the Richter scale to say we can actually challenge for this division, at least in my opinion. So when I see this move, I say, Tom Brady, be smarter than that. But Brady is always going to be the guy we want to win. I'm so competitive. I have to field the best team I can. Don't take a developmental head coach. Get Pete Carroll in here. He's going to understand what it takes to win and build the foundation up. I just don't like the way they're going about it, because I don't see this as a future, and I don't see Geno Smith in 3 years being your starting quarterback. So what are we doing down there in Oakland? Or Los Angeles?
I just think what it comes down to often is NFL teams are not too interested in entering a season where the expectation is 3 or 4 wins, and that's Vegas off of a 4-win season, wanting to improve. And I think the key point is maybe actually the upgrade that Pete Carroll is over Antonio Pierce, even more so than what Geno brings to the table. We also saw some key wide receiver movement. Deebo Samuel is in Washington. Devontae Adams with L.A. Cooper Kupp ended up with Seattle. I'm going to ask you, Joe, about Deebo specifically. Do you think that Deebo has enough to be the number one, push Terry McLaurin on this team, or how do you see him impacting?
No, a situational player, and that's if he hits the ground running. I saw him in terms of OTAs. He did look like he was a little slow, a little bit heavier than what we've seen in recent years. And then I keep going back to the games that we watched on primetime, and we saw Deebo Samuel fail to catch the football, fail to convert in critical situations, lack of focus. Is he going to bring a different attitude to Washington that challenged for an NFC championship last year and has a great quarterback in Jaden Daniels? Again, I think he's more of a role player. And when you look at this team as a whole, it is Terry McLaurin. Now they have to figure out the situation with him, but it's Terry McLaurin, pure number one, and then everyone else. Deebo Samuel could be that role player, especially in third down opportunities, but expecting him to be the player, Donnie, that he was in San Francisco, I just don't
He's not going to be that, but also sometimes a change of scenery does a player well, where you're going to Cliff Kingsbury, going with a very energetic young quarterback on a team that made the NFC Championship last year. There is a lot of hope there, and he should be the true number two. And also, Terry is the number one. He's going to run those deep routes. Deebo has a spot on your team if you can use him correctly, and I trust Cliff Kingsbury, Kevin, to use him correctly.
I'll just say for Devontae Adams, he is clearly the number 2 receiver, but that's just because of how good Puka Nacua is. That is exciting for LA. The defending champs, the Eagles, we'll talk about them next.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single-season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. They're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather. It's okay if you hit a parlay, yes, but if you win the match, no. The player can't do that. The bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Last week, Luke Wilson reposted a picture of the Lions practicing, and he goes, "Please tell me this isn't their practice field. Do they practice in a public park?" And Fairlawn Lodge, he said, no, they have a little facility, but it's open to the public. No, it's a public park. Like, it basically, like, there's like kids playing basketball, like,
yeah,
no, it's bad. I looked, I'm like, dear God.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today. I think the last time we were together, was it after the Eagles won the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Wow.
Like a wrap-up? What a great show.
We had a wrap-up show.
What a great show. You know what? We should insert it right here.
Beef show style. Sure.
With the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, there's always going to be, all eyes on them. Mm-hmm. And for Philadelphia, there's going to be eyes on some really key pieces in a very interesting way, because you're going to see the questions around Saquon Barkley, can he do it again? And you're going to see questions around Jalen Hurts, and can some of the incredible play you saw in the Super Bowl happen more frequently in the regular season? I think the reality is those two things go hand in hand. It is almost a certainty the Eagles will not look to Saquon Barkley to run for another 2,000 yards. It is also just likely the way the league works year over year, the Eagles will not be blowing teams out and extending them the way that they did this past season, which put them into situations where might as well just let Saquon close it out instead of putting the ball in harm's way. I asked this question, do you find yourself more focused right now, Joe, on Hurts or Saquon coming off the Super Bowl win?
Hurts, and I agree 100% in terms of what you said. I think they're going to preserve Saquon Barkley specifically for the postseason to make that run. Now, that doesn't mean 2,000 yards to 800, but I think in the area of like 1,500 yards is where I expect Saquon to be. And obviously, if they have opportunities to spell him with other running backs to preserve him later in games, I think they'll do that as well. But I think this is a breakout for Jalen Hurts. And when you look specifically for Jalen Jalen Hurts to throw 30 or 35-plus touchdowns. He's got a 5-1 number. I expect A.J. and Devontae to step up. They bring back Dallas Goedert, which is a benefit to the offense. And again, I think now that he won the MVP and how he did it last year, Jalen Hurts answered all the critics. He's a complete winner, and I think this team is out and best built to duplicate another Super Bowl run. I love the total, and I love where they are at 7-1. They are the team to beat, and I understand in the NFC East you haven't had a back-to-back winner since 2004, but it's the Eagles or bust for me, guys.
Yeah, you take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles, too. The offense is intact, and that was the machine last year. Now, granted, they got some great defense. Vic Fangio's a wonderful defensive coordinator, but the engine was Saquon Barkley, and the guy driving the car, obviously, it was Jalen Hurts. It's interesting to me to find out, too, because you lose Kenneth Gainwell, so it's like, all right, that guy was a really good key backup. Will Shipley, they expect to step up, but also, unheralded coming over is A.J. Dillon. He had some neck injuries, but a guy that could give those spell carries where you don't have to always give Saquon Barkley 3rd and 2, run him up the middle to get that first down. He could be the equation. But you know what I started to pivot to in this offseason? You guys are right. It's Jalen Hurts. And the fact of the matter is, the doubt on Jalen Hurts, all he's been in the NFL was a winner. The only thing he was missing was a Super Bowl. Got to one against Patrick Mahomes the first time around, outplayed Patrick Mahomes, and they lost that game. Learned from it. The next season didn't work out so well. Got back to it, and he was really good down the stretch, which included a fantastic playoff run, and that was also an MVP in the Super Bowl. So I look at the maturation process of a young quarterback who's still in his prime and learning how to win. I think he steps up this year. We'll probably take a look at the MVP odds. He's sitting at 20-1. Normally, that would be an afterthought from, Saquon Barkley's going to carry it. So many other players, Joe Burrow's out there, and Lamar Jackson. I'm telling you this year, he's probably going to have more on his plate, and rightfully so. And if he takes care of the football like he did last year, why can't he rush for 15 touchdowns but throw for 30-plus touchdowns? Being serious.
Well, the reality around Jalen Hurts is he's the most underrated player in some circles in this league because there are still people who opt to make top 10 quarterback lists that don't include him. Yet there's no justification for it. People treat Jalen Hurts, like he finishes these games with 100 yards, and it's all we've ever known from Jalen Hurts. Donnie, you know this very well. 3 seasons ago, if Jalen Hurts did not get hurt,
MVP.
He's absolutely winning league MVP. He was the favorite at the time of the injury. It's the Carson Wentz situation who would have won MVP that season. The difference between Hurts and Wentz is Hurts came back, played in those playoffs, played in the Super Bowl, despite losing, outplayed Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and yet that still wasn't enough for people. So then we go through this season and questions. And yes, they're coming even from inside the locker room of A.J. Brown. And it was the Carolina win where he only threw for 108 yards. So the response was throwing for 290 yards and 3 total touchdowns against Pittsburgh. And that was his last game in the regular season. He got hurt in the first quarter against Washington, and that was that. And yet, that still wasn't enough for people. So then we go through the playoffs. And in game number 1, it's only 131 yards. But they throw 2 touchdowns, and they absolutely embarrassed Jordan Love. And yet, Jordan Love is somehow still better than him in these games. And there's only 128 against the Rams. But, he was outplayed by Stafford, despite the fact that Stafford kept turning the football over in that game. Okay, well, you know what? You guys have definitely got him dead to rights. Now, who's left for him? Jaden Daniels was obviously going to get outplayed by Jaden Daniels. Oh, no, he significantly, not close, outplays Jaden Daniels in that football game. 8.8 yards per attempt, completed over 70% of his passes, threw for 246, a score, and ripped off 3 rushing touchdowns, because apparently some clowns who cover this league still do not know that those are also touchdowns that are being accounted for. Well, don't worry about it, because Hurts is going to obviously fall flat in the biggest stage of them all. Oh, no! 2 for 2 and outplaying Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl's God's gift to the quarterback position. So what are we doing here? I just don't understand this whole thing. And I know that I'm now raising my voice to 2 guys who both understand the value of Jalen Hurts, but it's going to continue to bother me. Because Jalen Hurts is very obviously one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the National Football League on a team that's booked as a Super Bowl favorite. And yet, Donnie, when we go through an MVP award, I have to see him priced as the same number as Justin Herbert. That's a joke.
Yeah. No, you're right about that, too, because Justin Herbert's supposed to be, hey, you know what, Jim Harbaugh, let's run the football here. The keys to the castle in Jalen Hurts' hand, but he just doesn't get those accolades. It's almost like you would date ourselves, Joe, right? Joe Montana. Did anybody ever say Joe Montana? Well, he had Jerry Rice, John Taylor. He had the best offensive play call in history, an unbelievable, unsalary-capped offensive line, and some of the best running backs. We never do that. No. But yet somehow when you look at today's athletes, it's like, well, how much help does Jalen Hurts need? I don't know. Did he need that much help being the MVP in the Super Bowl? Like, that's what I get to now, where it's almost like the underrated somehow turned into the overrated, but we never got to rate the guy, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Quiet leader, and he did it in college. He did it at Alabama, did it at Oklahoma, and he's doing it in the NFL, and he's doing it at an elite level. And I think that because he doesn't put up 330 yards a game like Joe Burrow, but he runs for 80 or he runs for 60, the guy is a leader, and that's all that matters. And when we're talking about value, outside of Jalen, just as a team, plus 360, I think, is great value to win the NFC. You want to talk about over 13.5 wins? They could be a 14-win football team. Plus 380 this year. I mean, again, they are the best team from an offensive perspective and a defensive perspective, minus the losses. I don't care. As long as you have Jordan Davis, you have Jalen Carter in that front seven, they are going to be dominant, and that back end is legit. With Cooper DeJean and Mitchell, it doesn't get better than this. They're not going anywhere.
The Saquon Barkley piece of it is just someone coming off of 2,000 yards. People worry about the workload. What is the next season going to potentially look like? What I will say is that if Saquon Barkley can get to 2,000 again, which is 10-1, he will cash the 16-1 break the record. There is no way he gets over 2,000 to me, Donnie, but does not break that record.
Yeah, no, and again, but from a standpoint of getting 2,000 yards back-to-back seasons,
probably not.
Man.
Probably not. But I will say this, though.
Yeah.
There are people who are going to look to play that under of his, right, on kind of the McCaffrey angle. Right. Hey, let's fade it. The workload's really big, right? CMC.
One twisted ankle, he loses it. Yeah.
I will say, and this will be relevant throughout some of the other guys that we talk about on our show. I don't like when I bet a prop in a random NBA game that goes under because of an injury and someone tells me, you should have known.
Yep.
No, that's ridiculous. It is relevant in NFL season-long player props. Injuries creep up so often in this sport, and you need guys to stay on track. And the Eagles will be cautious, I'm sure, with Saquon this season if anything were to arise. The Eagles beat the Kansas City Chiefs. What does their outlook look like? We'll talk about that next.
You're going to have the suck uniforms the entire season, but 3 games will give you with the best uniform. Those are the issues I have. The powder blues out for the Chargers. That should be every game. The Miami Dolphins old uniforms that they throw it back to, that should be your uniform, not the trash you wear now. The Patriots, you ever see them throw back with a little football player in the helmet? It is beautiful, but let's keep the trash uniform.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So they're working together to kind of figure out what's happening here. Like you mentioned, we saw these videos of these 2 pitches that he threw, but there's a reason that those were flagged. It's this betting integrity monitoring service called IC360 flagged specific bets on those 2 games from Ohio, New Jersey, and New York, which were placed on these things called micro betting markets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong, this is the first time the Cubs have ever had 2 players reach 25 home runs before the team's 95th game. I thought that was a stunningly odd statistic that you would have just thought, well, the Cubs, storied franchise, all these big superstars that they've had, and even superstar tandems, they've never been this good, and they continue to be that, man. They are just continuing to hammer the baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong, what an incredible trade that's worked out to be for the Chicago Cubs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
There are better opportunities out there for LeBron than the Lakers if this is how the Lakers are going to operate.
They really put Milwaukee as bad. I had to put my glasses on. Giannis may not be there. I'll tell you right now. New York!
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The Philadelphia Eagles took down the Kansas City Chiefs in that Super Bowl, stopped Kansas City on a quest to three-peat. It also just so happened to open the eyes of some who maybe now will start to ask if Patrick Mahomes, having statistics that show he may not be playing like a top 10 quarterback in football, is actually weird for the guy who's supposed to be the best quarterback in football. I don't think it's unfair to ask Patrick Mahomes to throw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. I don't think that's unfair at all. And yet, when you look at the most recent regular season run for Pat Mahomes, it's not been good enough. The pushback that I always got, playoffs. And then in the Super Bowl, assuming you watched the game and didn't just fall victim to he finished with 3 touchdowns. He was kind of all right. It was the defense's fault. No. Mahomes played the worst game of his career in that Super Bowl. All that luck came home to roost on the biggest stage. So I ask you this, Joe. What are you looking for from Patrick Mahomes this upcoming season?
I want to see that explosive playmaker that challenged defenses over the top when he had Tyreek Hill and could score at any point in the game. That's what I need to see. I don't want to see methodical drives, 80 yards, and they kick a field goal and they grind out a 6 or a 9-point win. I want to see dominance. What we saw in the second half after the game was signed, sealed, and delivered from him hitting Xavier Worthy 2 times against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now with Marquise Brown and Rashee Rice coming back in that lineup from an ACL, you have a playmaker in Xavier Worthy. I need to see the 5 wide and Pat Mahomes chuck it all over the yard. If they can do that early in the season, I'd buy back into the Kansas City Chiefs. I will say, I believe that the division, the AFC West, is much harder now with Bo Nix in Denver and now seeing Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert make it to a playoff appearance against Houston. It's going to be very difficult to see that type of dominance that we saw out of Kansas City, but I still think they're the team to beat in the AFC West, and they still, in a playoff environment, if you're asking me, which quarterback would you back? I would still back Pat Mahomes in any type of playoff environment because I do believe in him, and that's why he's got 3 Super Bowls, Donnie.
Yeah, the Chiefs are the best team, as you saw that graphic there, 11.5 wins to 9.5 and 9.5. But make no mistake about it. We'll talk a little bit later about the Buffalo Bills, and the reason I bring that up is we always used to like the Chiefs because it was a walk in the park in that division. 5 free victories, maybe 6 in the division that you get, and you move on the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs. You don't have that now. You don't just go into L.A. and beat up on the Chargers. That's a good team. Can't just go into Denver and say, we own the Denver Broncos. That's now a really good team and improving now at this point, and you're not going to get that doormat in Vegas because at least you have a head coach that knows what he's doing and a quarterback that is a veteran. You're just going to go in there and walk over him at this point. So that is a little bit of a delay. But I have to say this. I do like the fact that I look at this roster and say, all right, they're always switching up their offensive line, which can be a detriment. Because sometimes when they get to the Super Bowl and it falls apart, they try to retool and it works, and sometimes it doesn't. We'll see if that bounces back. But the one thing you are getting is, Rice back at wide receiver. That's a big help. Another year for Xavier Worthy. So flashes of brilliance there and super speed on the outside. And also Hollywood Brown on the one side. That's a really formidable 1-2-3 punch if they stay healthy throughout the season. Now, the one thing we also know is Travis Kelce is coming back. Not the same player he was just a few short years ago. That's life. That's the evolution of football and taking so many snaps, so many reps, and so many injuries and so many chances to get hurt here. But as long as you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, they're going to be a contender. They really are. They will be in the playoffs, maybe even looking at an 11-12 season because, again, their team total listed there at the 9.5 type numbers there. They're a double-digit win team, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I will say I thought that they would take a flyer on a running back in the later rounds or even free agent. They did pick up Elijah Mitchell from San Francisco, but to get a younger running back, I mean, they were exposed. And to Donnie's point, in the Super Bowl against Jalen Carter and that front seven, couldn't run the football. What'd they average? 1.9 yards per carry?
They also couldn't throw the football.
But I'm just saying, they need an explosive playmaker. You're not going to get anywhere with Kareem Hunt. He's a journeyman, and obviously Pacheco battled injuries, but get an explosive playmaker at the running back position. That would have helped.
Well, to me, to just kind of circle back on the whole thing, Patrick Mahomes, through his first 5 seasons first 5 seasons as a starter, all of the statistics, that was the best quarterback in football, along with the winning. But all of the statistics, best quarterback in football. over the last 2 years, he has not profiled statistically as a top 10 quarterback in the league. That's crazy. And I understand that I was a madman until I wasn't. Because then in the Super Bowl, he got abused the whole game. And here's what's going to happen. If Mahomes continues to play this season the way he has the prior two, it won't just be me on this desk asking what's going on. It'll be Joe, because you'll be sitting there betting over numbers, and you'll be losing those bets. And instead of being like, yeah, but he won the game, it's fine. No, this time you'll be angry. And it'll be Donnie, who has him taken down in all comfy parlays.
One touchdown pass.
One touchdown pass and 225 yards, and he'll lose that bet. And Donnie will be like, I actually got a couple questions about 15 in red. I'm not banking on that happening because I refuse to believe he's done playing high-level regular season football. But the reality is, the postseason piece of it, right? He played 3 postseason games. He was very, very good against Buffalo. He was his usual, not that good, luck box self against the Texans, and the worst we've ever seen him against Philadelphia. There is no reason that Patrick Mahomes... Again, who wants to debate that Pat Mahomes isn't the best quarterback in the league? And yet, in no book is the favorite to win league MVP. That says something. And I think it's one of the most fascinating things going on in the NFL. We'll talk about the guys at the top. A little bit of a look potentially towards Lamar and Josh Allen on this show. All of those things still to come up here. Of course, when you do take a look at the MVP setup right now, where are those odds? It's Lamar in front and both Josh Allen, and then Burrow as well, when you kind of see how they're pricing it. Jaden Daniels a little bit closer as well, Joe, to the cream of the crop in this class. You like that?
Yeah, I do. Explosive sophomore year for Jaden Daniels, so we'll see.
Camp, you're not in on the Commanders this year, or you can feel it.
Maybe he is. We'll talk some Super Bowl odds next. We're right here on Pro Football Today.
Here's a tip for my fellow golfers and gamers. Do you want to book a golf trip to Vegas? For the best weather, aim for spring and fall. But the best prices, aim for summer and winter. But if you're looking for that sweet spot, try June. You get the August prices without that scorching heat. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Since we were just talking Eagles-Chiefs, we might as well take a look at the Super Bowl odds. And I will say, despite the questions that I put forward around Kansas City, it is bizarre how the books throw Baltimore and Buffalo in front of Kansas City. Even if the odds makers felt those teams were better, you would imagine that putting Kansas City as not the favorite would invite Chiefs bets in a semi-significant way.
No, you would, and I was just looking at them now at 8-1. They were 650 prior to the draft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you see the draft play out, and obviously the books assess it, respect to how some of these teams drafted. Did they benefit? Did they make a move? Did they close the gap on the Chiefs? But you're still talking about a team that has been dominant in the conference. They've played in, 7 straight AFC championships, and now they've gotten better. They'll be more healthy entering 2025 outside of, Xavier Worthy. You bring in Marquise Brown now, hopefully for 17 games. If Rashee Rice bounces back to where he was prior to the injury last year, you now have 3 young, legitimate playmakers that Pat Mahomes could attack opposing defenses. Again, I don't believe Baltimore and Buffalo are better until you beat them. And until you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, I can't buy in at a 7-1 number to win a Super Bowl.
You're right about one thing here, because I look at the odds board and I say to myself, right now that I look, the Buffalo Bills, to me, they're better than the Chiefs. The Baltimore Ravens, markedly better than the Chiefs, man for man out there, until they actually play each other, because it plays out that way every single year. And you see, Buffalo's at home, when they lost to Kansas City, it's like, this is crazy. No way the Chiefs then go to Baltimore, win that game. And they did. It makes no sense. But sometimes it just comes down to, my quarterback can come up big in the right spots. My coaches have fantastic game plans, because Andy Reid and Spagnuolo staying together for so long just have that dynamic where it's like, when we get into the big games, we know the right buttons to push. Now, granted, the Philadelphia Eagles handed it to them. We saw the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl hand it to the Chiefs as well. But it's such an odd way to try to explain it. Right now, if I look and those two teams aren't playing, the Ravens should smoke them. Then when they get into the battle, it's like, oh, no, here we go. Yeah. What are we doing, Baltimore? We never say that about Kansas City on some of those level games where they shouldn't win. They're always in the game to win it. But I love the Baltimore Ravens, but just in the regular season. But the Kansas City Chiefs, they're always going to be there. Big Red's there. Patrick Mahomes there. Come on now. Really interesting just how the rest of the NFC trickles down towards the top, right? Philadelphia 7-1. You see Detroit, the Rams, the Commanders, the Niners, within range. LA's really interesting. I just need people to make the case on that team without, nobody gave the Eagles a tougher test. Let's not do that. That game was over, and then they weirdly had a chance, and they lost anyway, and it was in the second round of the playoffs. Make the Rams case a different way than pretending that this team was going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't do that stuff, Joe.
No, I was high on the Rams the past couple of years.
Sure were.
I was, and I heard it
done?
in the offseason.
Almost got banned.
Yeah, I heard it on the offseason. I heard, some commercials and stuff like that.
Right.
I heard it. Heard a little chirping.
L.A. Joey.
Yep.
They're a good team. They're not an elite team. And I'll say this about both Detroit and L.A. respectively. I think they're both going to regress. I think when you look at the numbers right now, 10-1 and 17-1, you could say, yeah, those are maybe the second and third best teams in the conference. And you want to throw in San Francisco that has multiple question marks coming back with key players. I just don't buy into it. Again, I think the Rams are a potential wild card. I don't even like them to win the NFC West this year. I'm buying into a dark horse. It does hinge on Matt Stafford. I know Jared Verse and that defense stepped up. And again, yeah, they went toe-to-toe with the Eagles in a snow type of game where they potentially backdoored it. But at the end of the day, the Eagles are the team to beat. The Lions, to me, have major questions. What does that offense look like now with a new offensive coordinator? And again, I don't buy into Jared Goff and this team as a whole. I think they could be a 10-win football team.
It's interesting about the Detroit Lions because they are so talented here, and they still should be good. But if you just equate it to, let's just say, the military, Joe, you got an F-14 pilot out there, the best in the business, with a great machine. Take the pilot out and still have the other guy's a good machine. Well, they don't fly it so good. That's what you take a look at the Detroit Lions, where the questions are coming up. You had the best play caller in the NFL. Now you don't, and I'm supposed to believe that it's going to be the same exact offense, and it's just the personnel? I don't know if I buy that yet.
Oh, it's interesting, because I saw a list somehow say Dan Campbell's a better head coach than Nick Sirianni, and yet Dan Campbell lost at home.
Grit.
A couple places said it. I didn't like
those
what
emails.
I was seeing
What those emails were hitting you?
45 31. They lose in their own building to a team who lost the next week, 55-23.
They overexceeded expectations, those Commanders. They overexceeded expectations. Nobody thought they'd be there.
Lamar versus Josh Allen. The MVP race seems like it'll be back again.
I showed you the Heisman odds a week or two ago, and they had Garrett Nussmeier as the second favorite behind Manning. So Brian Kelly's very excited to have Garrett back at school.
He is no athlete, in my opinion. You can quote me on that. Like, he is a clumsy white dude, and he sucked. Like, I'm being nice now. Now all of a sudden you're talking about him being great? Oh, slow down there, Coach.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Devin Booker, do you know, in those 2 years, actually makes more in his salary than the entire Miami Marlins payroll this year, which I think is at like $62 million. That's a 72.5. I'm just doing the math really quickly. So one guy's worth more than 25, but we know how bad the Miami Marlins is. But hey, I just talk hoops.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, yeah. Time for the sprint. Let's go streaking here. Don't I mean streaking through the quad. I mean streaking in Major League Baseball, which is what the Boston Red Sox actually are doing right now, Tom. 9-11, 9-12 on the rotation.
You have to put some stock into them, especially with their hitters. What the Red Sox are doing, they're scoring runs early, they're scoring runs late. Doesn't matter if it's a walk-off, they're putting up runs consistently, hits consistently.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Really would love to know what Jawan Jennings is after. If I were San Francisco, I'd hate to lose him. Not that I think he's ever going to be their best receiver on this football team, but you have a lot of question marks, right? We don't know how good Ricky Pearsall is yet.
We are asking like ifs, if Ayuk comes back and is healthy, if McCaffrey can be healthy, all these things. So why not just take the thing that you know works and just keep it?
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. The AFC's MVP race, as Lamar has already grabbed a few of these and nearly ended up grabbing one from Josh Allen last year. Lamar will enter this season as the favorite. When you put these two guys side by side, you see just how close the MVP race was. A reminder that the first team All-Pro quarterback actually was Lamar instead of Josh Allen. Lamar finished the season with 41 touchdown passes to just 4 interceptions, a near 120 passer rating, over 4,000 yards. Josh Allen threw for 400 fewer yards, 13 fewer touchdowns. He did run on the season for 12 touchdowns compared to just 4 for Lamar, but still did trail in the total touchdown category. My biggest takeaway from that MVP race is Josh Allen has no chance to win MVP this coming season. I don't see any way, because for Josh Allen last year, the MO was play controlled and within himself, and it resulted in wins. But Josh also ended up winning MVP despite losing out statistically to Lamar and record-wise to Mahomes. And I think even if he were to correct one of those two, it would be unlikely for Josh Allen to correct both of those year over year. And still, primarily, the best way to win league's MVP is to be the quarterback of the best team in the league. But if Josh does that, I think he would still have to be statistically his best self. That usually comes with way more interceptions. I'm not saying Josh should be 20-1 to win MVP. Even I then would have to take a look at the value. But I know that I will not be betting Josh Allen at any point during the preseason, Joe, to win league MVP.
No, it's a great point. I think, for Buffalo and Josh Allen, the biggest thing is get over the hump and beat Kansas City or win an AFC championship. And if you could do that, they'll take that, and the MVP could be, in the rearview mirror. I think that's the biggest thing for Josh Allen now, to answer the critics. What are you going to get out of this football team? They had everything lined up a couple of seasons ago with home field advantage against the Kansas City Chiefs. They lose that game by 3 points. Last year, they were in striking distance on the road. James Cook, their best playmaker's not even out there on the final drive, and they lose again by 3 points. They have to find ways to beat the teams that they can't get over the hump on, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. When you look at this offense as a whole, I'm expecting Josh Allen to have a breakout year. Khalil Shakir and that passing attack need to step up. You bring in now Keon Coleman in year number 2. Can he elevate and play like the player that they thought he could be last year, a potential 1,000-yard receiver? And what do you get out of James Cook? You want him happy, right? He's halfway selling his house in Buffalo because he wants his money and they haven't given it to him. When James Cook runs the football, they are very effective. Again, I think this is a 12 or a 13-win football team. I think they have very good odds to potentially challenge for a championship. But to your point, do I believe Josh Allen will win an MVP this year? No, but I think it's winning football games that's more important, Donnie.
Yeah, you'll get the edge on that. I like to call it the extracurriculars, because I think the Buffalo Bills are going to have a great schedule here, which means a lot of wins, which reflects on the quarterback. But then again, when you look at the way humans vote on the MVP, it's like if you didn't win it last year, you got a clean slate. Oh, Lamar Jackson's going to put up the exact same stats he did last year. Wow. Welcome to the MVP. Oh, wait, he couldn't have been MVP last year. Well, no, he won it the year before. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. So I do think you get that with Josh Allen. It's like, what did he do last year? How did they wind up? And if they do have the best record in the AFC, does it really matter? And is it for Josh? I think you got a bump last year, guys, when you're just saying to yourself, all right, what's the surrounding talent? Like, Patrick Mahomes is Andy Reid. It's got Travis Kelce. And Baltimore's flushed with talent with Derrick Henry in the backfield. What do you want him to do? He can only succeed in. Well, look what Josh has. Well, James Cook, well, he was a very good running back last year, but catching people a little bit off guard with that great season. Khalil Shakir is your favorite, a couple decent tight ends, and voila, you have a great season, and Josh Allen gets the MVP. And he was deserving of being in the conversation and winning it, but I do think this year when I look at it, like, Josh Allen has to have a better season than last year, both record-wise and also statistically. I don't know if you can duplicate that.
What's interesting, though, Donnie, is it should be far more difficult for Lamar to improve on what he did statistically, right? But because how his MVP conversations feel so similar to Nikola Jokic, what I would say is Lamar doesn't have to be better than what he was last year. If the Ravens end up with an incredible record, which they usually do in the regular season, and he just plays Lamar Jackson level good, he is the rightful favorite to me for this award because of how his numbers are just also outlier. They found a way, like, he's such an efficient passer ultimately as well. I think the fascinating thing, though, is are we going to get to a point where we worry about both of these guys in the playoffs? Because Lamar, I understand that, like, Josh usually plays well, but they lose. He can't beat Pat. Like, the reality is he just cannot do it. And that, like, I don't know if you would have, this is unfair, but I think Baltimore would have beat Kansas City last year had they played. Odds makers agreed. They've agreed before. It's not played out that way. The Bills just cannot get through this team, Joe.
Psychologically. Now, I do want to bring up, because you said, the way the offense is built with Lamar, right? And when you look at the numbers, 34.50 is his passing total this year. 28.5 is his passing touchdown. The over has the juice of -114. Josh Allen has a higher passing yard prop than Lamar Jackson at 37.70.5, and he's got one touchdown less at 27.5. His is plus money. If you think Josh Allen, it's plus 112 to the over. So, the books believe that Josh could be more explosive in the passing attack this year, potentially, than Lamar. But we know that Lamar steps up in the regular season. He has dynamic performances. 2 games against Cincinnati, right? I mean, he lights up the Bengals defense. He's going to be able to play the Bengals and the Browns twice in the division, and the Steelers, who, by the way, have a bend but don't break type of defense where he could potentially light them up. So he has the ability to compile stats. But again, can he win an AFC championship? It's legacy now. You have 2 MVPs. You need the Super Bowl ring to go along with it to be up there with the greats. Jalen Hurts got his last year.
Yep.
Can Lamar and Josh crack through is the biggest question.
And also, you take a look at Lamar Jackson. With that defense that he has now, do we need to see him in the fourth quarter putting up electric numbers most weeks when they probably will have a lead? You take a look at Josh Allen. Is he going to need that with the schedule that we're predicting at this point? It's basically you're going to marriage the statistics going head-to-head with the record and see how it plays out. But again, with Josh Allen, he's already got it, he's hamstrung this year, per se, because he won it last year. He's going to have to duplicate and do more than he did last year, and the other guys won't have to do that.
We're going to talk about Burrow and Daniels in a second. Are you surprised that Mahomes maybe isn't the same number as Lamar?
Yeah, I am. I'm surprised about Mahomes. I'm also surprised on how the books price some of the receivers. Like on certain books,
for MVP.
Not just MVP, just leading the league in receiving yards. Some books didn't even have Xavier Worthy. He's an 80-1 shot on certain books. It's just intriguing how they price the playmakers. We know that Pat Mahomes for all but one season threw for 4,000 yards each year. If he throws for 4,300, his receivers are going to eat.
That is true. I am fascinated to see if Mahomes was just kind of good soldiering it because, hey, we were winning. And if off of that, what has to be the most embarrassing, I don't know if it's embarrassing, but like lowest moment of his career,
Absolutely.
Right? Does he say, hey, look, Big Red, spin it and rip it, baby. All right? You're giving me multiple shots a game.
Shots.
Can I get back to 40 touchdown passes? I think that becomes interesting. 2 LSU quarterbacks expected to be in the race. We'll talk about them next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
You got
Online casino expansion in the U.S. is extremely slow, a lot slower than I think we all would have thought, 5 years ago as sports betting took off. But you're going to start to see, I think, next year, a few more states kind of trickle into this. On top of Maine, you had Illinois kind of talk about it. Governor J.B. Pritzker pitched it as an idea to help cut down the budget deficit. Of course, we've got a weird tax fallout there.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Obviously, he didn't do great in the last 2 majors, and we're going home here. We're going to Northern Ireland, Royal Portage. This is Rory's the reason why we're going here. Got off to a rough start, throwing his tee shot out of bounds back in 2019. I think he'll be ready. Not yet ready to call him the winner. I still have a couple of days before I do that, but it is a home game for him. And as you saw, based on this weekend, he is playing well.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
His run in Salt Lake is over, but obviously the intimidation of a guy that's been around that long in Gundy and in this guy, if you look at their cases, they're very similar. It's been going on forever, right? And it's time for a change, I think, in Stillwater and in Salt Lake. I got to be honest with you. And believe me, if they lose again, they're going to get rid of him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
1 of 6 from beyond the arc yesterday. I think at best he's a reserve player, but again, that's at best for the next few seasons. I don't think he has a 7 to 10 year NBA career.
Most kids are like, hey, Dad, play another year in the NBA, understanding that, like, hey, we get Dad home and it's fun to watch him on TV. But this kid is actually like, Dad, please play so I can play.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When you take a look at the MVP odds, you see Lamar, Josh, Mahomes. And then it's Baton Rouge dominant with Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, not just closing out the top 5, but there's a lot of separation from options 6, 7, and 8 on the board from where that top 5 is. So I'm going to go to Daniels first. Do you believe Jaden Daniels should be in the same tier of MVP odds as Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes?
No, but I understand why he's there.
I can't figure it out for the life of me.
NFC Championship appearance.
And how'd that go?
Team had a 5.5, 6
I think
win
he's still
total
on the
at
field
start
at
of
the
the
link.
year. I remember people specifically on this test, I'm not going to name names, Kevin, that said Jaden Daniels would not be better than Caleb Williams. And lo and behold,
jury's
he
still
was
out.
much better than Caleb Williams.
Yes, in year
Led
one.
this team to 12-plus wins, beat the number 1 seed in the NFC, the NFC in terms of Detroit, beat them bad as a 9.5-point dog. And then what?
Got outplayed by an Alabama quarterback like he usually does. Shout out Jalen
Milroe. A much better team.
Never won a big
team.
game.
This team was in a major rebuild. Didn't even have an identity before Jaden Daniels and Josh Harris got there. With new ownership, Josh Harris changed the complexity. He did. They had a decision to make. The organization had a decision.
Stadium?
In the offseason when they were number 2, number 3 when they drafted. Oh, Drake, I heard Drake May.
Yeah.
Drake May, they should take Drake May.
A lot of buzz around Drake May.
Unbelievable. If they would have picked Drake May, they would have been in hell as an organization. They had the Heisman Trophy winner staring them in the face, and they picked and made the right decision. And he's deserving potentially as a dark horse MVP candidate if he could duplicate what he did last year. Do I believe now it'll be a harder road? Absolutely, because now teams won't take him for granted. We know how difficult the NFC East is in terms of back-to-back champions. Philadelphia, I think, has the best shot to do it. And again, the other teams that they have to go up with, teams like LA, teams like Detroit, have veteran quarterbacks and potentially better defenses. We'll see what transpires, but he is deserving to be in the outside conversation. Is he as good as them right now? No.
Yeah, they caught a lot of hype last year, a lot of lightning in a bottle, played very well last year. Nobody thought they would be making at the beginning of the season a run to an NFC Championship game, which they did get beat by the Philadelphia Eagles, but it's a learning process. But also understand this from me. Some of the smartest creatures on the planet are defensive coordinators. They had all summer long and all season long to watch tape of Jaden Daniels, what he likes to do, what he doesn't like to do, and to try to formulate a game plan. Because the thought process of, same thing with C.J. Stroud, unbelievable rookie year. He's going to take another step. What is that, 5,000 yards and 50 touchdown passes and, undefeated? That's not probably going to happen. He's rightfully so to get all of this, let's just say, hype, but I don't think he's going to do that.
No, well, here's why I laugh.
Yeah.
Did that C.J. Stroud incredible and accurate analogy you bring up happen 20 years ago?
No.
So then how come nobody can remember that when discussing Jaden Daniels?
But wait a second.
Why?
Well, just wait a second. Again,
why?
Because Jaden Daniels is a dual threat, and he's at CJ threw for 23 and 3, right? A pure pocket passer and led his team to a playoff win over Cleveland. He didn't make the championship game.
No, he's got got 2 playoff wins, same as Jaden.
Jaden took the game over, not just with his arm, but his legs. I mean, he dominated on the ground, and that's where I think when you look at MVP and you look at maybe trajectory, that's where you say he's an outside shot. Now, again.
But he doesn't have an outside shot. His shot is not an outside shot. He has an inside shot. He is significantly closer to Lamar Jackson than he is Jalen Hurts in the MVP odds.
Well, let's make the argument. Who's potentially on paper the second best team in the NFC East? Is it Washington? We're not saying it's Dallas.
No, okay. They are not even favorites in their own division. Can someone pull up the last time a quarterback won MVP and didn't finish first in their division?
Pull it up.
He's plus 850, Joe. You keep having this game where you're like, hold on, Kev. The kid, he's got an outside shot. They ain't booking him like he's got an outside shot.
What I'm saying is, so they're booking him like he's one of the favorites. Okay,
yeah,
so
they're booking him like
if he throws for 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, and runs for another 900.
So the exact season he had last year.
Yeah, but why not?
So now he's here.
But again, do you think it's going to be? I don't think it's going to be easy for him to duplicate that.
I don't. But my point is that was the season
So what if he throws? What if he throws for 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, but he rushes for 1,000? That doesn't matter.
No, those are all great. Here's the thing.
But CJ didn't have that.
Are defending your guy despite agreeing with me. You're saying it'll be really hard for him to replicate 11 wins, 4,500 total yards, 30 total touchdowns, but despite that, he is booked this close to your former guy, Joe Burrow. No love for Burrow in this race anymore.
No, I think Joe Burrow has a very good shot. Again, as long as he plays the 17-game season and they start fast, which is they have to win week 1 against Cleveland because I think all wheels as a 5.5-point road
0-3 Bengals again.
They better. No, but even though the defense is atrocious, we know Joe Burrow is going to average 300 passing yards per game and potentially throw for 3 to 4 touchdowns every time he steps on the football field. So I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be in the conversation. Right now, if you're asking me both quarterbacks, I bet on Burrow before I would Daniels.
Probably getting a lot of action, too, at the sports books as well, pushing that number down. But a lot of hype on that season, but the expectations, again, like he's only going to get better. We've seen that play out before.
Joe Burrow, though, DRS, last season almost crept in. We talked, can a guy win it without actually
we were talking about
first.
that at the end of the season last year.
Now, the reality is Burrow ended up not really receiving any first-place votes despite throwing 43 touchdowns and 4,900 yards because you have to win a lot more games to really be in the race. And I think that is what makes the Burrow season so interesting, where I don't want to say nobody cares about his numbers, but it is going to be it's going to be such a wins and losses season for Cincinnati. Now, Offensive Player of the Year, they have some juice in that market as well because Jamar Chase just ripped off a Triple Crown.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little Offensive Player of the Year because not only is Jamar Chase, but Saquon Barkley, Justin Jefferson, a lot of relevant players. So we'll break that down next.
Do you think that there's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. 4th easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
I'm sick and tired of seeing tennis players fall to the ground in disbelief, they captured the Rubik's Cube here. It's take it easy. You won 6-love, 6-2, 6-3. I mean, it's not like it's dramatic. I did today, but I'm saying, I see that guys do that all the time, and women do that. It's relax. You won in straight sets. It was a foregone conclusion an hour ago. Stop pretending like it was a dramatic victory.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
You are going to bank on Luka Doncic, who is a phenomenal talent, but his defense has been questioned, his work ethic, his time has been questioned, and his conditioning has been questioned. Name me one time in his 23-year career that you've questioned one of those 3 things about LeBron James.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Everybody also is going to know the name Yuri Perez next year because Yuri Perez, obviously in fantasy circles, is a guy that we've been excited about for a while. First onto the scene a couple years ago, was electric, was fantastic. Then Tommy John, and we've been waiting for him ever since. And, all of a sudden the last couple starts starting to look like the Yuri Perez that I know I was very excited about drafting going into this season. And he has been brilliant.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
football today. Joe Lisi, Donnie Rightside, Kevin Walsh, the Offensive Player of the Year award over the last 6 years has been a non-quarterback award, which I'm totally fine with. It does lead to me usually at least once or twice a season asking, hey, any interest on this quarterback? I almost feel like Lamar not winning it last year maybe gives us an idea that this is really just going to be non-quarterbacks.
Do we ever have two quarterbacks? Like one MVP, one Offensive Player of the Year? Like, I would like to see, like, the last couple years of this award to see if that would even be possible. Is that just, like, predetermined?
In 2019, like, I think Lamar won not the official one.
Yeah.
But, like, I think maybe it was because he won MVP, like, he took both home. Well, that was the thing, Donnie. We used to have guys win both, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we would have had a situation where, like, Josh wins MVP, Lamar wins Offensive Player of the Year. Now, the last 6 years of this award, we've seen 3 wide receivers and 3 running backs. So let me just start with this, Donnie. Do you think that you would be more attracted to the running back position or the wide receiver position when evaluating this market?
Wide receiver position, because it's so hard for a running back. Even though you saw last year, like, Derrick Henry was sensational. Same thing with Saquon Barkley. Like, that's the anomaly, though. Like, we were supposed to be getting away from the running back position in the NFL. Now we have a resurgence. But understand this. Much easier for a wide receiver to make it through 17 weeks than a running back, and certainly a running back running at a high level. Like, we're supposed to believe, like, the 1,000-yard season is good. Well, obviously, we know now with 17 games, that has to be elevated. But when you're a running back run for, like, 1,400 yards, oh, my goodness, that's amazing. Like, guys are running for 2,000 last year, which is absolutely incredible. But for me, it's always going to be a wide receiver. Why? It's a passing league. They're going to get more opportunities to make more big plays.
Yeah, I agree with Donnie. I think the only running back that I would buy into, obviously outside of Saquon, would be Derrick Henry at 14-1, just because of the 2,000-yard marker. If anybody could duplicate it, I do believe it's Derrick Henry in a run-based offense with Baltimore. But Donnie's right. Let's not forget, a couple seasons ago when Tyreek Hill was on that type of marker, right? What do you have, 1,700 towards the end of the regular season? We were talking about him for Offensive Player of the Year, and then he got hurt, and then we threw the 2,000 yards out the window. There's the potential with some of these players. Players like Justin Jefferson, players like Jamar Chase. You look at C.D. Lamb now with Dak coming back for a full season. There is the potential and great value. I mean, when you look at just the numbers alone, 9-1 on Jamar Chase. He wins a Triple Crown. We know that Joe Burrow and that offense are going to chuck it all over the yard. I mean, there's great value there. I'll just say this as it relates to Tyreek. If you do believe that Tyreek can have a bounce-back type of season now and being 100% healthy, the 35-1 makes sense if you do believe that he's completely bought in this season. The problem is I'm not bought in to Miami as a whole.
I'll throw the shot out there. List of players last year, 170 or more targets. Jamar Chase, Malik Nabers, that's the list. And Nabers finished 5 targets away from Chase despite playing 2 less games. We expect improved quarterback play throughout the season. And the Offensive Player of the Year award race is not really about record. I know someone would say, well, no, that's why Saquon beat out Chase. Yes, but also Saquon ran for 2,000 yards. And I think that catches the eye actually a little bit more than a Triple Crown does necessarily catch an eye. People are going to remember the Saquon season last year significantly more than they're going to remember the Jamar Chase season. Malik Nabers, I mean, with Russell Wilson last year, we saw he could still throw the deep ball. I think Malik Nabers has sometimes we throw out odds where it's like, hey, this guy can just beat the number. Like, I think Malik Nabers legitimately is already one of the 5 best receivers. I don't know. The LSU stuff's nuts. Like, I know we joke, the wide receiver stuff.
Yes.
Like, the fact that we had the Chase-Jefferson combination, and then right behind it is Nabers, Brian Thomas Jr., both on the same team. I mean, it's completely ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm buying, 35-1 for Malik Nabers to have a dynamic year and potentially maybe 1,500, 1,700 yards, depending upon the type of success with Russell Wilson. Isn't it out of the realm of possibility, especially when you have a coach with his back against the wall in Brian Dable that has to win football games, get the football and feed your best player? I think it's great value. I think Brian Thomas at 40-1. We know that Trevor Lawrence comes back. We know Liam Cohen in that offensive attack wants to have balance, but still chucks it. Baker Mayfield had 4,500 yards with his, calling the plays in Tampa. So you can't say he's not going to eat in Jacksonville. So Not bad value across the board.
Do you know one player I'm probably going to downgrade just a little bit? He's in second place right now.
Yeah.
It's Jamar Chase. Look at his division. Cleveland's going to have a really good defense. You see the Pittsburgh Steelers loading up at cornerback. Take a look at Jair Alexander now in an unbelievable cornerback field in Baltimore Ravens. Maybe it is a slight downgrade for the guy.
I would say Jefferson for me because of McCarthy.
The Jefferson number, though, I feel like is interesting because of the McCarthy impact. We'll be right back. We're live with you on SportsGrid.
New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Aaron Judge is great, but if you want to talk about full contributions to a team, maybe I'm biased as a former catcher myself, but I think Cal Raleigh's working a little bit harder than everybody else, and I think Cal Raleigh should be right in this thing. If he sets that single-season home run record for a catcher, I think that's probably what it's going to take for him to overtake Judge. I don't think it's impossible for him to get there. I think it's unlikely.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
The tennis players are just the worst. They're just the worst.
I do that after I get a parlay. I'm falling to the ground. I'm excited. I'm like praising the Lord. Win a parlay. Come on. You're allowed to celebrate.
I'd rather, it's okay if you hit a parlay, yes. But if you win the match, no. The player can't do that, the bettor can. It's as simple as that.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Last week, Luke Wilson reposted a picture of the Lions practicing, and he goes, please tell me this isn't their practice field. Do they practice in a public park? And Farrell and Lodge said, no, they have a little facility, but it's open to the public. No, it's a public park. Like, it basically, like, there's like kids playing basketball, like, yeah, no, it's bad. I looked, I'm like, dear God.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
So we just talked Offensive Player of the Year, which is home to a lot of the biggest stars in this league outside of the quarterback position. I think one player who is going to enter the conversation in terms of star power is Travis Hunter. I'm not saying he's winning Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know if Travis is going to win any awards this year. I believe that when we list out the 10 biggest headlines of this NFL season, Travis Hunter is inside that top 10. He's a show leader, if you would, right, Donnie? The week that he does catch a touchdown and maybe a pick six, if that does happen, like that is something that you just have to talk about with Travis Hunter. Having top 3 odds in both Offensive Rookie of the Year and Defensive Rookie of the Year. But there's another piece that we haven't been able to revisit really since the draft, the three of us together, and it's what will Travis Hunter's role be in Jacksonville? And they made it kind of clear, I feel, from the moment they drafted him and still being the case. It is to play wide receiver. I feel as if he's talented enough he can go out there and cover anybody. Like it was the reverse idea of Colorado, Joe, right? Right. All DB room, he'll find a way to get open. Jacksonville traded up and made this move for the playmaker that is Travis Hunter. I'm not saying he's going to be their number one wide receiver because Brian Thomas is so incredible. But I think they are looking, Travis Hunter has an over-under of 750.5. I think they want Travis on the 1,000-yard trajectory
Yes.
this coming season.
Yes, absolutely. And let's think about the offense in Tampa Bay last year with Liam Cohen, right? You have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You have a pure number one, and you have Godwin that did all the dirty work underneath on dig routes. And when they double-teamed Mike Evans, right, got open. It's unfortunate he got hurt, but that was his role in the offense. The role for Travis Hunter is simple. Take double teams away from Brian Thomas and work the middle and be that route runner to do the dirty work in year number one. You specifically got him because he's a unique athletic talent offensively and defensively. And I believe he's going to hit the ground running just the way he did in Colorado. He's going to step up. He's going to make plays. He catches the football at its highest point, has great hands. He's still a little raw in terms of the route running, but I still believe he is going to be 750, 800. He's 750 in terms of receiving yards and 5 interceptions if you want to take that shot. 17-1 right now on FanDuel. It's not a bad number. If you believe he's going to play on the defensive side of the ball, whether it be 15 or 20 plays, maybe they'll work him in slowly, nickel type of situations. He's going to eat. He's a ball hawk on both sides of the ball, Don.
Yeah, I'm surprised the way it started. But again, we're just going through like OTAs where you're trying to get him to learn the offensive playbook, and I get that. But I'm not getting too much information on Travis Hunter is working out on defense and like locking down opponents right now. Because the expectations for me coming in, I thought you would thread the needle and be like, you know what? This guy's an absolute stud as a cornerback. They're so hard to find in the NFL, but yet he's elite on offense where when we need him in packages and spurts to save him, he can be effective here. It looks like they're almost going the opposite where it's like, let me put you full-time wide receiver and, oh, yeah, in the 2-minute drill when we go to nickel, you'll be the nickel cornerback, which is kind of odd to me because you have Brian Thomas Jr., a bona fide number one, who I love the fact that Travis Hunter is going to help him get open just by being out on the field. But I really thought a better use or allocation would have been full-time cornerback, spurs him in on offense. When you're in passing, when you're down, he can be that guy because I thought that's the best use of the talent that he has.
I think the thing, though, is, Donnie, if your options were the best receiver in the league or the best corner in the league, you take the best receiver in the league, and the offense is just more valuable. So they view who he can be as an offensive player as the priority of trading up for the player. And I've talked about the money piece of it for Travis. Now, maybe he'll end up getting paid as a both. And all right, good luck figuring out what that number is going to be. But there's way more money in it for wide receivers and quarterbacks. There just is. Pat Surtain will never come close to that Jamar Chase number. It's just the reality of it. So it makes sense for Jacksonville on how do you get the most juice out of the guy, and it makes sense for Travis for how do you get
but is he really
the biggest
that
payday.
guy at wideout, though? Like, because you come from Colorado, wheeling and dealing, your best friend's the quarterback, it's bad defenses, you're just a better athlete, and you stomp them where it's like, okay, like you can be a legitimate cornerback. Because coming out of high school, like Travis Hunter was a great player, cornerback. Going to Jackson State, cornerback. Oh, he's going to play a little bit more wide receiver at Colorado, but we knew he's an electric, one of the best cornerbacks, and now not to use that as his primary position, that's where I get a little bit confused.
What I would say, Donnie, and Joe, I'll throw to you on this, but I actually think because so many people thought cornerback was the lead position, it actually undersold the fact that he was legitimately the best wide receiver in that class. I heard respectable places suggesting that his comp, again, LSU wide receiver, was Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, yes. And he worked in at Jackson State as a wide receiver, in the championship game, stepped up, made some touchdown receptions, put that game into overtime like 3 seasons ago. But, again, you just look at the athleticism, his ability to just get open, the ability to find the football. And go back to that North Dakota State
Point of
game.
catch, red zone.
Just unbelievable, the ability to just do that number when you have a pure number one that's going to run off the secondary and just work underneath. And let's not forget, you have Tank Bigsby and you have Travis Etienne, the way he had Rashad White and Bucky Irvin working out of the backfield, and Evans still got 1,000 yards. Godwin, if he was involved in that offense, 8. McMillan in Tampa Bay still found his way towards the end of the regular season. Again, if they target him the way I believe, 75 to 80 receptions, maybe 900 yards, and maybe, I'll say maybe he can get to 10 touchdowns, but realistically in the area 7 or 8.
I do think he's a big again, just when you watch all those Colorado games, like in the red zone, that's where he did so much damage. Like I think that Brian Thomas is the deep threat touchdown guy. Like I'm wide open, no one's near me. I think Hunter can challenge him in the touchdown department. All of that though leads to Trevor Lawrence. And what is this guy going to be? the Trevor Lawrence pedigree, we've talked a lot of MVP award on this show. Trevor Lawrence at 45-1 should be a number that, has a blinking red light next to it. Off the top of my head, I would assume that Hunter plus Brian Thomas, one of the 6 best wide receiver duos in the National Football League. They bring in Liam Cohen. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement there. Now, of course, look, the MVP award dictated by wins and losses, so will they be able to stack those up accordingly? But can Trevor Lawrence, I would say this, Donnie, this is the best situation Trevor Lawrence has entered a season with?
Yes, by far. This is the time where you say this up because Trevor Lawrence got drafted the NFL generational talent. You know what also Trevor Lawrence got? A generational contract, being the number 1 quarterback in that franchise and getting paid like it here, and hasn't really lived up to the billing, whether it's on the field issues or just being injured at this point. But now you have Liam Cohen as the lead dog, as calling your plays. That's fantastic. Joe's already brought that up multiple times. This fits perfectly here. He's surrounded by a wealth of talent. Like, across the board, you have all the weapons. So if I'm buying into Trevor Lawrence, not necessarily as an MVP, the touchdown passes with those weapons, if he's not throwing I don't even know what his number is, by the way. If he doesn't get 25-plus touchdown passes, what are we doing out here with Trevor Lawrence as our trigger man?
Totally agree. 33,700 and a half.
Yeah.
And here's where you're gonna be shocked.
Go.
Take a guess on his touchdowns. Just
21 and a half.
22 and a half.
Love it.
He should be able to get 20 as long as he's healthy. I need to see Trevor Lawrence be poised. I need him to be confident, go through the passing tree, and not be a deer in the headlights. He regressed last year in the limited action that he played. Now, you want to give that on Doug Peterson and maybe the offensive staff, that's fine. There's no margin of error. When you have 2 legitimate running backs that can also catch the football out of the backfield, you have a legitimate big play number 1, you have the best potential wide receiver in the draft, no margin of error. For him to hit 4,000 yards this year, plus 170.
And he loves Bitcoin. Bitcoin's up.
Bitcoin's up, yeah. He took
Trevor
the salary
Lawrence.
in Bitcoin.
Remember that? He had paid the Jaguars year number 1.
When he took the salary in Bitcoin, Bitcoin tanked.
Yep.
So that financial advisor might be in.
I just want to check something. Better wide receiver duo.
Yeah.
Hunter and Thomas Jr., CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens.
Ooh. Tough.
Just this season. Because down the road it might be obvious.
I would lean to Thomas and Hunter.
Come on, DRS.
Yeah, because Pickens is the wild card where he could play unbelievably or, man, they just cut the guy. You know what I mean? Like that's what I have to deal with that guy.
I think it might be Lamb and Pickens. Because CD's still such a superstar. Let's talk offensive rookie of the year. Hunter and his opponents next.
You're going to have the suck uniforms the entire season, but 3 games will give you with the best uniform. Those are the issues I have. The powder blues out for the Chargers. That should be every game. The Miami Dolphins old uniforms that they throw it back to. That should be your uniform, not the trash you wear now. The Patriots. You ever see them throw back with a little football player in the helmet? It is beautiful. But let's keep the trash uniforms.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
So they're working together to kind of figure out what's happening here. Like you mentioned, we saw these videos of these 2 pitches that he threw, but there's a reason that those were flagged. It's this betting integrity monitoring service called IC360 flagged specific bets on those 2 games from Ohio, New Jersey, and New York, which were placed on these things called micro betting markets.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Seiya Suzuki and Pete Crow Armstrong, this is the first time the Cubs have ever had 2 players reach 25 home runs before the team's 95th game. I thought that was a stunningly odd statistic that you would have just thought, well, the Cubs, storied franchise, all these big superstars that they've had, and even superstar tandems, they've never been this good, and they continue to be that, man. They are just continuing to hammer the baseball. Pete Crow Armstrong, what an incredible trade that's worked out to be for the Chicago Cubs.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
There are better opportunities out there for LeBron than the Lakers if this is how the Lakers are going to operate.
They really put Milwaukee as bad. I had to put my glasses on. Giannis may not be there. I'll tell you right now, New York!
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, of course, has juice because Travis Hunter's involved in the market, but you also have a first overall pick in Cam Ward and the favorite, which is Ashton Jeanty, the Vegas Raiders running back here. We talked quite a lot about Travis. Do you agree, DRS, with the idea of Jeanty, the running back, being booked as the favorite in this market?
Because the hype coming in, where it's like, okay, we understand what Pete Carroll's about. He loves to run the football. They're going to run the football. The opportunities are going to be endless for a guy that's going to be a day one starter if he stays healthy all 17 games. Like, really, what are we looking at? 250-plus touches as a running back, and he does have the electricity. For me, I'm not betting Ashton Jeanty because I think there's some other viable options down there because also, you're still looking at the running back position, man. Like, great 6 weeks. Hamstring injury. Now, grant a wide receiver, a quarterback can have that, but the running back is so volatile, I just don't think I want to see it. And also, if you are looking from a Raiders perspective, we're not taking Ashton Jeanty like he's the missing piece of the puzzle. Remember when it was Zeke Elliott got drafted to the Cowboys, which had the anomaly of an injury, and then you knew they were going to be really good the next year? Well, third and fourth quarter, what are we doing? We're running the football because we're winning all these games. Yeah. I don't know if you have that with Vegas.
Yeah, Jeanty's deserving based off of the hype, right? He was,
It's the floor, isn't it? Because he's supposed to run for like 1,000.
Disgraced himself in his last game, though.
Yeah,
what was that last minute? What was the last minute, Joe, of his last game?
102 yards, and he still found a way to, power his way against one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. But for me, there's two guys I would buy into. And one comes with a little bit of hype. That's Tat McMillan with Carolina. You couple him now with Leggett and Adam Thielen in Carolina. If you believe in Bryce Young at the end of the regular season, you got to believe that they're going to open it up. I think he could potentially be a 1,000-yard wide receiver. If that's the case, like Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors at 10-1, I think it's great value. The other one, and we talked about it on draft day, and I know the team is absolutely terrible, but Quinshon Judkins for Cleveland. He is cemented as potentially the starter there. They lose Nick Chubb 15-1. He was 19 or 20-1 earlier in the year. We know that they're going to run the football. I think Quinshon Judkins, I still say he's the best running back potentially in this draft class. I'm buying in. I know you why? Because that's my guy. I back my guys. I can't help it. I back my guys.
Cleveland back.
Like, look, he hit you the bet to go for Trevion, right?
Yep.
And that's great.
But I believe in him. He's a workhorse. He's a bigger back. He's more durable. He's built in the exact same body frame as Nick Chubb. Why wouldn't I buy into him? He scored 3 touchdowns against Notre Dame. I mean, come on.
I just think, man, to zag on the running back favorite.
Jeanty.
But to skip over Amarion Hampton.
I'm not high on Hampton. I'm sorry. I'm not.
But situationally.
But Najee's there, though, too.
Yeah, the thing is they clearly don't like him that much if they spent a first-round pick on Amarion Hampton. Wouldn't you agree?
Well,
do you think Najee Harris is all that?
I think Najee is competent enough to take carries away from Amarion Hampton. They still utilized Gus Edwards and J.K. last year. Nah, Jerome Ford is... Come on, third down back. Come on.
I'm surprised you went to Judkins.
I did.
I didn't
what
see
about
that
Tat McMillan?
coming.
Did you see that coming?
Yeah, that feels more on brand. I don't know. That tracks.
Yeah,
for me.
His first 3 games, he's hot. Joe's off him right away. Like, can't do it anymore. 120 yards, 115, 110.
I will say, shocked. 12-1 for Tyler Shuck.
He's supposed to start.
That's a good one, though.
So that if that team wins more than 3 games, I'd be shocked.
What do you mean that's a good one?
I think he's going to be throwing the ball all over the lot. Like, I like Kellen Moore as a coach.
Would you rather Shuck or Cam Ward?
Cam Ward.
Not better player. Odds. I'm seeing 3-1 Cam Ward, 12-1 Shuck.
Yeah.
You had to make
I'll
a bet.
probably take Shuck at 12-1. Yeah, I think I will.
I don't even think Shuck will be the starter at the end of the year. Come on,
push it in. Push it into the middle of the table.
No,
Come on.
I don't. I'm sold on Tyler Shuck.
I mean, Kellen Moore down there calling the signals, man. Guy's ready.
Kellen Moore loves
Guy's
to
a
run
vet.
the football.
He's as old as a vet already.
I feel
You know?
like if you get Donnie early enough in the morning, he might not be able to tell you the Saints starting quarterback. I'm not sure I'm buying that you like Tyler Shuck.
Will Howard at 75-1.
I don't hate the Will Howard. Now, that's a good one. I like Rodgers retires before the season. Howard comes in starting QB. I don't hate
rookies
that.
do well in Pittsburgh. We've seen him. Tyler Warren, 25-1 is interesting for me, too, as a tight end. I really like that spot where it's like Steichen's going to get that fired up. But for me, again, the quarterback position, you're right. It's price point, right? Plus 300 on Cam Ward. Well, he's supposed to be up there. He's supposed to be great. But also, there are some chances where, like, the one's going to be a bad football team, so are the Titans. I just think Kellen Moore is like, you know what, I'm going to put a lot on this guy's plate. Just go out there and let him eat, and he can throw touchdown passes while we get smoked.
What about
Loveland's not bad either.
Jalen Milroe?
I was going to bring that up. I said, I'll perk you right up.
I think Seattle really likes Jalen Milroe. They tweet about him a lot.
Okay.
I think they gave the
Let's get
word
Matt
to the
Flynn, the guy. You know what I mean? Sign him, get him out.
It would be perfect. Oh, if I told you Jalen Milroe, week 1 starter, what would you make the number to win Offensive Rookie of the Year?
Now? Oh, now he's 75-1 to win Offensive.
I understand that. I'm saying if I just told you, because they don't think he's going to play. If he was the starter.
If he's week 1 starter, he'd be 30-1.
Please let me shop at that book. He'd be the favorite. He'd be the favorite. Our Seattle quarterback.
He's thinking R.J. Harvey.
You got Shuck at
How about R.J.
12-1.
Harvey?
You're booking Milroe at 30?
I think Shuck is
That's a local. That local's going to get put out of business quick. Man, we'll bury that
Make
guy.
him 30-1.
We'll bury your local.
He's got 3 interceptions written all
ghost
over.
Accounts all over the place with your local, man. We'll bury that
LSU's
guy.
laying 6 extra points every week at that book for some reason.
Monmouth minus 14 that week.
Tyler Shuck.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So who's the Dolphins rookie you want, Joe?
Nah, I don't want any Dolphins. None.
Nothing jumps off the page.
Scatterboo 80-1 Come on now.
Oh, Scatterboo's not a Dolphin, but Scatterboo.
I don't
with
hate
the
the
Giants.
Scatterboo look.
Let me tell you, dual threat.
Where's Shador?
How about Gray Zabel? Any interest?
No.
400-1
No.
Who he play for? You know what I mean? We could Jonah
Will
Saravaya. I mean, come on now.
Caleb Johnson.
You don't know first-round draft pick?
I mean,
Gray Zabel?
Tommy Malott.
They really shouldn't be allowed to put offensive linemen.
Yeah. Like, at least put their helmet next to the name over here. Help somebody out, man.
Caleb
Come
Johnson with the Steelers isn't bad either.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
if you think they're going to run the football.
And so you've given out Will Howard and Caleb Johnson
was
in this
kidding.
segment.
Will Howard.
Timestamp
I was
that.
joking about Will Howard.
Defensive Rookie of the Year is next. Oh, my.
Here's a tip for my fellow golfers and gamers. Do you want to book a golf trip to Vegas? For the best weather, aim for spring and fall. But the best prices, aim for summer and winter. But if you're looking for that sweet spot, try June. You get the August prices without that scorching heat. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Defensive Rookie of the Year. Something tells me this is just going to end up a conversation about retired numbers. Abdul Carter's the favorite at 2-1. Jalen Walker plus 850. Mikael Williams is 10-1, same price as Travis Hunter. Mike Green, Jahad Campbell, James Pierce, Mason Graham, Malachi Starks, with then Shamar Stewart, and then Jahdae Barron rounding out what is your top 11 options on the board here. Abdul Carter at 2-1 is hard to disagree with because of how much this award is an edge rusher's award and the gap that he was viewed between himself and the next closest guy. How do you feel, Donnie, about the Abdul Carter pricing?
I mean, granted, it's hard to say that you say you hate where he went for him to win that award. And so, what do you mean? You know what I mean? Because you have two legitimate defensive ends. Now, granted, you drafted him because he was the best overall talent in the draft, and I can never fault the Giants for doing that. But you have Burns on one side who's really good, and then you take a look at Thibodeau on the other side who is also very good, and you say to yourself, like, you know, where does he fit in? Like, how many reps is he going to get and how can he dominate? Now, granted, we've seen in the past, like Steve Spagnuolo defenses with the NASCAR offense. He's going to get his opportunities. But, boy, I would have liked it better if they moved one of those defensive ends and say, hey, kid, you're going to play 17 weeks, just get to the quarterback. I would love it. But that's why I'm sort of like downplaying it just a little bit. He is the best player in the draft, but the opportunities on that team, he should get them, but I should never have to worry about that, though, Joe.
No, you shouldn't. For me, again, I think he's going to be a great pro. Is he worthy of Rookie of the Year right now? I wouldn't bet him at this price. I would take a shot on a couple other edge rushers that I believe in that I talked about in the draft. One is Mikael Williams with San Francisco. We're talking about the ability to step up and plug and play immediately. Talking about a team that has championship aspirations. And we talk about talent. You know, if this draft was a couple of seasons ago, Mikael Williams would have been potentially one of the first players off the board. But because of injuries and because of where he slipped and fell, I thought the San Francisco 49ers got a steal in terms of the value. He's a 10-1 shot. I think, again, he's going to have a dominant rookie season. The other player is a 26-1 shot, and it's Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. And you're talking about, again, another dominant player. He led Ole Miss, one of the best rush defenses in all of the SEC and all of college football. They held opposing offenses to 80 rushing yards per game. He's physical. And Arizona as a whole, going to a defensive-minded head coach in terms of Gannon, I believe in this team. I think Walter Nolan at 26-1, guys, has great value.
So I think that Carter is the rightful favorite. I think that the Donnie point, though, of could his workload be lesser than some of these other guys, I think that's really, really interesting. The guy that I would make the case on in James Pierce at 19-1 is that James Pierce was the only guy who people, I think, and it wasn't a lot of people, but were willing talent-wise to put in the Abdul Carter conversation. The reality was James Pierce came with concerns, right? Off the field, we don't know about those necessarily, but those seem to exist. Well, Atlanta must have not been that concerned, considering they gave up a future first-round draft choice in order to bring James Pierce into their building. So I think that kind of jumps off of the page a little bit to me. Donnie, you want your Shamar Stewart space here to just talk about whether or not he'll ever be a Cincinnati Bengal?
Which is a shame because he's 21-1 as we sit here, you know, at some books, and you say, well, this is perfect because you have one guy in Hendrickson who we don't know if is going to play or hold out or be there. So on a defense, he's going to get unlimited snaps, unlike maybe Abdul Carter would get, and that's where the value comes in. But for me, you're right. If he's not going to be there or misses 2 to 3 weeks over some contract language here, the last thing you want is a rookie. Like, T.J. Watt can say, I'm going to hold out, and day before training camp, or day before the season, I'm going to come in out 3 sacks on that Sunday here. Rookies can't do that. Like, they need to be in practicing with their team in that defensive concept with Al Golden, and he's not going to be there. 21-1 should be a steal, but it's not a steal if you're not there, Joe.
No, either you're bought in or you're bought out. I understand there's concerns about the contract, but at some point you got to play football and you got to contribute to this football team. You can't come in first week of September and say, "Here I am, I'm ready to contribute." It just doesn't work that way.
Here's what I would say though, Joe. Shamar Stewart, this playing out, usually you would see a lot of people go at the player. Ace Bailey in the NBA draft. He landed in one of the few situations where the public opinion will go against the organization because of how they handle money in general with players.
No, you're right. I get it. And I understand he has concerns and he's setting basically a precedent. But again, at some point, you got to get with your agent and say, we got to do this sooner rather than later. Otherwise, he's going to be checked out.
And that's where we still sit. We'll talk some NFC West next.